Namaskar. So today we'll discuss about the Vedic Science syllabus from Vedic scientist Shri Basudeb Mishra. Actually, there is a confusion. So where to start? What the students should read first? So this video is for a roadmap of Vedic science. I will request Shri Basudeb Mishra to start the topic. Basudeb Mishra, sir.
Om Namo Sabhabhya. There is lot of confusion regarding the Vedas. There is no confusion really, but confusion created by the British to divert people from reading the Vedas and getting its real meaning. So nowadays, whatever we find, there are a lot of fake interpretations. Even in the book a history of Sanskrit literature, so I find that some during the last years of 19th century, Arthur MacDonald has written. So he written that there were a lot of fake attempts to write fake analysis interpretation of the Vedas, so that people will be distracted and they will not know the real knowledge. There is a reason for that. I'll come to that later. But here thing is, everybody says, "Arey what Veda is a religious text. Where is science in that? There is no connection between science and religion." But this is a wrong interpretation. Vedas contain not prayer but stuti. Stuti is not prayer. Stuti means, Stuti has been defined by Rishi Saunak as Stutistu namna rupena karmana bandhavani cha. That means Stuti is the description of classification and nomenclature, physical characteristics, chemical properties, and interactive potential. So, if this is not science, what is science? Second thing, the word Veda is derived from the root Vid. The Vid has 5 meanings. All 5 are applicable for the Vedas. The first meaning is Vid Gyane. So Veda contains all Jnanam. What is Jnana? That is everything. When we come to it from many things, when we come to find the commonality between everything, the ultimate commonality we reach, that is Jnanam. So if we have Jnanam, we can know about everything. But when we have knowledge about a particular object, everything we know about some particular object, that is Vishishta Jnanam or Vijnanam. So science is a subset of knowledge, Vedas. That is one meaning. The second meaning is Vid Vicharane. Vicharane means analysis. So how do we know? By after analyzing everything. What are the things we analyze? With nivasak vachanadana nivasesu. Whatever is existing, about that only if we analyze. So that is Veda. Bidlu labhe. What is the meaning? What is the benefit of analysis? That is, we can get whatever we want with the desired objects. Bidlu labhe. So bid gyane, bid vicharane, bidlu labhe, chitna kyan nivasesu, and another. I'm forgetting. Achha. So these are the things. So Veda contains all knowledge. But the thing is, we must know how to read and interpret Vedas, and then we must follow the Vedic process to interpret it. Here, there are two major divisions. Whenever we see at anything, wherever we see, we find a complementary two things, two opposite things. One which is static, and the other which is ever changing. So, like suppose you look at a river, the water is flowing continuously, it is flowing, it is never static. But when we look at the water, it goes out and it is being replaced by new water coming in. So something goes out, something comes in. This flow continues. Water is never static. What we are looking at is never static. But then we see the river continuously. That is static. So these two, one static, one dynamic, this complement we can see everywhere in the universe. The static part is called Brahma and the dynamic part is called Yajna or Srotra. Whenever we talk about because the technical part, the technological part, Srauta part has not been encouraged. In fact, it was discouraged. So this knowledge is almost going to be lost. So nowadays we don't bother. Say whenever that Vaisheshika Sutra, it was all about science, but then it was discouraged first by telling that oh it is adhyatma, and then that some one branch Nabhyanaya has been introduced now. That Nabhyanaya, which is not actually diverse, it is not proper Vaisheshika, it diverts from the main science into many things which are questionable. But unfortunately, most IKS professors have studied only Nabhyanaya, which is a fakery, which is not science. But that is because people don't know about that. They think it is science, Vedic science. So they have they got the job as professors. So you can imagine what will happen. But for reading the Vedas, I'll give one example to highlight this point. So suppose I say sanskara. The moment I say sanskara, all the pandits will say yes, yes. We know about sanskara. It is the Shodasa sanskara from Garbhadhana to Antyeshti. So that they are not wrong, they are right. That is, but that is the only Brahma interpretation. If we come to Srauta interpretation, then sanskara means gunantara adhanam, bringing in some other characteristics. In the Garbhadhana sanskara, we introduce certain new characteristics to whatever is there. But in Srauta, it is called, there are three types of sanskara. Against the Brahma 16, in Srauta there are only three types of sanskara. One is called Bega. Bega means dosopanodana. That everything in the universe is static. When we apply a force to something, we break that inertia and the body moves. That is called Bega. That is inertia of motion. So that is the first sanskara. Second sanskara is called bhavana. We have three types of sanskara: inertia of motion, inertia of thought, inertia of mind, that is thought, and third is elasticity, sthitistapaka sanskara, inertia of restoration. So from this example, you can see that the same word can have meaning theoretically in the fixed structure, that is Shodasa Samskara, or it can have dynamic meaning in so which can be of three types of inertia. So both are Gunantara Adhanam, both are Sanskara. What the Pandits say is correct. They are not wrong. But that is not the whole interpretation. that is not the scientific interpretation, that is the spiritual interpretation. So if we have to be careful to study, if we want to know science, we have to study the scientific interpretation, not the spiritual interpretation. So for this reason, if my for the last 71 years I am studying the Vedas from traditional sources, and for 55 years I am studying physics, modern physics. So I have studied both independently, separately, so I can see the correlations, and I find from my experience modern science is wholly misguided, and there is no theory in modern science which is fully correct. It can be rectified by Vedic science. So, but the problem is nobody knows what is Vedic science. Everybody who is talking about Vedic science, they have not read Vedic science, they do not know Vedic science, they have read modern science, and they find some references in the Vedas which resemble modern science. So they take it out and say it is there. One example is this gravitation. There is no one who is talking about Vedic theory of gravitation. All those who talk about whatever they say, they are not correct. They are all wrong, and sometimes it is laughable. It is one Mr. Bartak. He has written a book on Vedic science, and I found that he has described gravitation is farting. So it is laughable. How can gravitation be apana vayu? Apana vayu is everybody will interpret as farting. It is not so. Gravitation is not farting. So if we misinterpret like this, nobody will believe in our Vedas. But the real gravitation is an interaction. It is called Ujjama Sambandha. That Ujjama Sambandha is the relationship between two bodies, like two sumo wrestlers where they are fighting in a wrestling inside a ring, each trying to push the other out of the ring, but they somehow stabilize each other. Our urdhva nirdhe pratispardi bala, that is the interpretation of gravitation in our theories. When the planets move, Surya Siddhant, everybody talks about Akrusti Shaktischa Mahi Jadasyat, that is recent Siddhanta text they quote. But this is a wrong interpretation. Akrusti Shakti is there, it is a correct. It is one of the forms of gravitation, but it is not what propels the planets. The planet, Surya Siddhanta says it properly. Prabha Vayu. So there are Sapta Skanda, 7 types of gravitation. Out of that, the variety called Prabaha is responsible for this planetary motion. Abaha is what is Akrusti Shakti, that is called Abaha. Abaha is something different. Its functions are different. It pulls us, but whenever we throw a stone upwards, it comes down because of Abaha Vayu. So they have not understood that, and they have misunderstood that. So they are talking like this. Now, for interpreting the Vedas, first we must know how to interpret the Vedas properly. So we have the tradition of Chaturdasa Vidya or Ashtadasa Vidya. Chaturdasa Vidya is Angani Vedas Chatvara Mimangsa Nyayavistara Itihasa Puranani. ये अंगानी मतलब वेदांग. There are 6 Vedangas. These 6 Vedangas, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakarana, Nirukta, Chhandas, Jyotisha. Unless we read these, we cannot understand anything from the Vedas. So, whenever we try to read Vedas, we must read all these 6 Vedangas first before reading the Vedas. Unfortunately, no one reads these 6, and even most of the universities, they do not have branches to teach all these 6 Vedangas. Everywhere you will find students reading only 1 or 2 Vedangas maximum. So they cannot interpret Vedas. Even after passing MA or after doctorate in science, Sanskrit, they cannot understand the Vedas. That is one. Second thing is only reading Vedangas and then Vedas means Vedic Sanghita, Brahmanam, Aranyaka. These three branches. Upanishads are not separate. It is extracts from either Sanghita or Brahmanam or Aranyakam. Mostly Brahmanam or Aranyakam. Only one is Upanishad, Ishopanishad, that is Ishavasya Upanishad, that is a part of Yajurveda Samhita. All other Upanishads are extracts from different Brahmanas or Aranyakas. So, if we read those things, it will not be easy to understand them unless we know the concepts. So, to know the concepts, we must read all the Puranas. That's why they say Angani Vedas Chatvara Mimamsa Nyaya Vistara. Mimamsa and Nyaya Vistara, that is research methodology. That is our research methodology. So we must read those things also. Then Dharmasastra Puranancha. Dharmasastra or Itihasa, that is Brahmana and Mahabharata, and then Purana means Ashtadasa Purana. So unless we read these, and then the darshan is covered by Mimamsa Nyaya Vistara. So all 6 darsanas, all Puranas, and then Vedanga and Veda. If we read all these, then only we will know the proper interpretation of the Vedas, and we can interpret that. For example, the past slide, Preti Cheti Cheti. Yeah, this is our people are searching about grand unified theory or theory of everything. But this is our Preti Cheti Cheti is the grand unified theory provided in the Vedas. That is Pra A Eti. Pra is Unmesa. Sankocha. Pra is Unmesa and A is Sankocha. So, the Agni Samatmakam Jagat, electromagnetic universe. Jabala Upanishad says, Bruhat Jabala Upanishad says, Agni Samatmakam Vishwam. That means the whole universe is electromagnetic. The electro part is described here by Pro, and magnetic part is described by A. Pro A iti. Don't both together. Cheti. Pro cha A cha. They can operate individually as electric and magnetic, or they can jointly also operate. That is electromagnetic. So this is what our from this you can have an idea that everything can be explained by this. You can ask me anything and any motion in the universe, and I can explain you from this. Then second slide, next. Here, the first question was asked in the Vedas there. Kasminno bhagavo vijnante sarvamidam vijnantam bhavatiti. What is that knowledge? By knowing which we can have knowledge about everything. So here, the answer is given is Dve vidya veditavya. We should know only 2 knowledge, 2 different branches of knowledge. What are those branches? The first is that opera, that is whatever I Chaturasya Vidya, I said all those things, and para. Parajaya tad akhyara adhigamyate. Para, by para we can have knowledge about akshara. What is akshara? The Gita defines it as Khara Sarvani Bhutani Kutastho Kharamuchyate. Everything we see in the universe, all material things, they are continuously perishable. So they are called Khara. Khara Sarvani Bhutani. And the energy which creates it and then enters it. Tat srushtra tadevanu pravisat. So that energy which is inside the material, that is called akshara. But these two are not final. Everything we require something else. When there are more than one agency, they must require a base to exist, and that base is uttama purushastvanya paramatma udahrita, जो लोको त्रयमाविश्य विभक्ति अव्यय ईश्वर. So that is called Abhaya Purusha. In modern science, that is called the Higgs field. So the whatever they call the Higgs field, that is here we call it Abhaya Purusha. So, but that Higgs mechanism is a wrong description. I will describe. Yesterday I was talking somewhere about that. I will describe it separately. Then this abhaya idam jagaditi kevalam veda visayani ja vritti tad ban ishvara. So abhaya is called ishvara. So ishvara is not God, something like the Christian God or Allah. It is abhaya, we call it the idam jagaditi kevala bheda visayani ja vritti. So discreteness. The universe, we don't accept it as expanding. We accept it as a static structure, closed structure. Unless it is closed, we cannot know about anything. Everything. Unless it is discrete, for knowing about anything physical, it must satisfy three conditions. One is called rupavatva. It must have discreteness and a confined structure which can be perceived. That is rupavatva. Second is aneka drabyavatva. There must be many of similar or different objects. Then third is if there is only one object, it will not be perceptible. So third is astitva. It must exist. It must not be non-existent. Like say, suppose when we say this rabbit's horn, how do we know about rabbit's horn? It is non-existent. But here the question is, we have knowledge about the rabbit and we have knowledge about the horns of other animals, and only they are not coexistent. So that coexistence is in one base, both the things are not do not exist, and we say that this is rabbit's horn. So this is not totally non-existent. So we only that relation in one place is non-existent. So we say that now idam jagat. So whenever there is a discreteness, but the totality of all discrete things, that is called abhyaya. Abhyaya means not mutable. No, it is neither there is no bear. You can't spend it. It remains as it is always. Then spashta bheda prathan bhavan so bhevanat abhavhasayan ishvara prathita. So whenever something is confined and discrete, but it can observe itself. So abhaya is the consciousness that whatever we know, it is a jyoti, something of a revelation. So the revelation is called jyoti. So that jyoti, unless that jyoti is there, we can't know anything about anything. Then so whenever, because it is confined, anything confined is called a pura. So whatever remains within that confinement is called purusha. So purusham evedam sarvam jad bhutam jaccha bhavyam. So everything in the universe is purusha. Jad bhutam jaccha bhavyam. Whatever, acha. So karananam gunanam to samyam prakriti uchyate. So they talk about in quantum chromodynamics, they talk about three color charges. We call that as gunas, three guna. So in when they three are in equilibrium, we call that as prakriti. So that is called singularity. So singularity is not a point of infinite density. Such thing is impossible. Singularity is both field and energy are in equilibrium. Suppose we pour water on a flat surface, water flows out, but after some time it stabilizes at one point. So that is in equilibrium. So Prakriti is something like that. Water resting on a flat surface, flat surface. So कारणनां गुणानां तु साम्यं प्रकृतिरुच्यते तद्भिन्न पुरुष प्रोक्तः पूर्ण संक्षिप्त शक्तिका. So this water flows. How it flows? By energy. So but where it flows? On a base, here the flat surface we said. So similarly the flat surface is the base. Veda Purusha is the base. Energy and moves everything, that is akshara, and what it moves, that is kharanashila, always perishing, that is khara. So this is how this is. So Prusty Vedamayi. So when a singularity is broken, we know everything. If there is singularity, we cannot know anything. So sankoch sanghati sweka rupini. So when they are in equilibrium, it becomes in one form. So it cannot be known because there is no aneka dravya vatva. So we cannot know it. So next, acha. You see, here is one example how we had science and how the West copied from us. In the West, there was no science till Newton, and suddenly Newton comes, and suddenly the West is flooded with lots of science. How come? Why they didn't have any knowledge before Newton, and how suddenly there is a flood of science? Because they came to India, they studied our scriptures, they found the knowledge, then they published it in their name, and they tried us to mislead so that we should not read our own text. So here is one example. Newton's law, we know it, that is the beginning of science. So, but these are copied to verbatim from one text called Padartha Dharma Sangraha, written by Acharya Prasastapada. This is a commentary on Vaisheshika Sutras of Kanada. So here, this from here you can see this. I have given it here. The Newton's Latin translation, what he wrote about it, and I have given the original Sanskrit translation, original Sanskrit. Bego murtimatsu panchasu dravyeshu निमिष विशेषापेक्षात कर्मणो जायते नियत दिक्रिया प्रबंध हेतु स्पर्शवत द्रव्य संयोग विशेष विरोधी क्वचित कारण गुण पूर्वक क्रमेण उत्पद्यते. This one he has translated it into Latin and published it in his name, as these contains all three laws. Next slide. कर्म गुरुत्व द्रवत्व प्रयत्न. Why though Newton took this thing from Prasastapada Bhashya, then he could not understand it fully. So he second law is karma guru is actually vega nimisha visit apekshat karmano jayate niyata dikriya prabandha hetu. From this he derived his second law. F is equal to ma. But actually m is mass, but according to this one, our Prasastapada Bhashya, it is not mass but gurutva, because gati, motion, starts only after gurutva, dravatva, prajatna, sanjogajanya. So the motion starts only after due to gurutva, weight, dravatva, fluidity, prajatna, application of force by a conscious being, and sanjoga, interaction. Only for these four conditions can create interaction. That is motion. So when inertia is also a motion, and it can start only with gurutva, that is and sanjoga. So when somebody with a force, with a weight, is joins another body, that starts inertia, that breaks the inertia and sets the body on motion. So Newton could not understand it, so he wrote mass. But what is mass? Before the French Revolution, after the French Revolution, they changed many things, including all old things they changed. So they changed the new unit of weight. For that, they introduced kilogram. And what is a kilogram? Nowadays, say weight, the unit of mass is kilogram. That is a wrong thing, because 1 kilogram unit is based on a metal cylinder kept in Paris. But how that metal cylinder was selected? It was selected as 1000 cubic centimeter of water at 4 degrees centigrade. The weight of that water was treated as 1 kilogram. So the kilogram itself, the unit kilogram itself is a weight, not mass. But they say no, it is mass different. Mass, they say, it is amount of matter. But how can mass be amount? What is the meaning of amount of matter? What is matter? So matter means what we see from the outside, the structure, the spread. So in Vedic science, it is called, the object is called Vayuna, and the its spread, that rupam, that is, it is called Vayonadha. So mass is Vayonadha, and the content, the which creates pressure, a stress, generates a stress on other bodies, that is called weight, and that is in the Vedas called Bhaya. So Bhaya, Bhayonadha, and Bhayuna. These are the three terms used. See, all the fundamental forces of nature have been divided into 15 categories. The 13th, 14th, and 15th of those 15 are called Bhayonadha, Bhayuna, Bhaya, and Bhayonadha. So that is the thing. From here you can see how Newton stole our laws from our books. Achha, next, third, Karanam. Achha. So, third is so the two second and third laws are there. Achha, then next is Karanam. Karanam karyate anenam. Jena binan janna bhavati tat. Karanam bhavat karya bhava. This is Konada says like that. Karya bhav na tu karya bhavat karana bhava. So this karya karan causality is normally not well understood by modern science. We have divided causality into 13 types. हेतुर निमित्तम प्रकृतिश्च योनि प्रारब्ध मूले प्रबोधभवो यथा विवर्त संचारी रस प्रवाहिकम प्रकृत्य पूर्व समवायिका मता. So out of this is because there are 13 karya karana bhavas, this causality, cause is, what is it cause? It is defined as niyata purvavartitva, immediate antecedents. Unless the cause is present, there will be no effect. And the moment all the causes are present, immediately there will be effect. So there may be one cause missing, so there will be no effect. Suppose something has 5 causes, 3 causes. So out of 3, say one is called material cause, upadana karana. The other is called catalytic cause, which doesn't go into the object as it is. But without that, object cannot be, that action cannot take place. That is catalytic cause. asamvai karanam, and there must be something, a doer, who will do that cause to turn into effect. That is called nimitta karanam. So all the three karanas must be present for something to materialize. If there is one is not missing, then the cause cannot be transformed into effect. For this reason, there are 13 also interactions, 13 types of interactions. So alakshanam chatha vibhuti jogo bandhosmita brutti amit udara brutti sasambal saptamiyam samvaya brutti asanga brutti punarashtamishat abhyuda sandhi dahrottara totoprata bhavaucha grahat grahottam. These are the things. Then sangraha karito by dharana akarsanai. This is the commentary of Vasyayana on Gautama Sutra. So संग्रह नाम संयोग सहचरित गुणांतरम स्नेह द्रवत्व कारितम. ये अच्छा, ये जो इसमें क्या होता है? सो दे बंध द फोर्थ वन ऑफ दिस अलक्षण चाथ vibhuti yoga bandha. From the vibhuti samsarga interaction is called samsarga. From the vibhuti interaction, that abhyaya purusha is created. I can tell the mechanism separately. Acha. From the yoga sambandha, it is akshara purusha is created, and from bandha sambandha, kshara purusha is created. This bandha has two divisions. One is called granthi bandhanam. That is when the two nucleus are joined together, that is called granthi bandhana. So, and when the prushtha, that like electron cells, when there is interaction within them, that is prushtha sambandha. That is so when something, the two things join together, which can be separated, that is called samsara bandhana. Samsara means lose. Samsara bandhana can be of 6 types. Out of these 6 types, the first is hrudya, that is antaryama sambandha. It is now called the strong nuclear interaction. The second is called bahiryama sambandha. It is the beta decay part of modern weak interaction. The third is upajama sambandha. It is the electromagnetic interaction. Fourth is Jatajama Sambandha. It is the alpha decay part of radioactive disintegration. Then fifth is Ujjama Sambandha, that is gravitation. And the sixth is Aptojama Sambandha. It is chemical bonding. So everything was known in the Vedas. Everything can be found in the Vedas. Only thing is we should know it, where it is, and how to interpret that. So next slide.
Namaskar.
Achha.
So we will end today because time is up. So next we will again discuss